You ever step off a plane and feel like you landed on the wrong planet? That's how it was for me engines cooling on the tarmac at Dallas-Fort Worth. Sand still clinging to my skin, and 11 months of grit bake so deep in my bones I figured I'd never shake it loose. Home. Yeah, that word had haunted me for nearly a year, drifting in the back of my mind every time I stared out over the endless horizon in Kuwait, counting down days, telling myself, just get back to Texas, just get back to Weatherford, and everything else will make sense again. You know what I mean? I played this homecoming in my head 100 different ways. Sometimes it was quiet, just me and the old ranch under the wide Texas sky. Maybe my sister Emma waiting on the porch swing, the same swing my dad used to fix with baling wire and stubbornness. Sometimes I'd picture the oak tree out front, the one I nearly broke my neck climbing as a kid, or the barn that still smelled like hay and dust no matter how many years rolled by. That's what kept me going, not medals or any of that nonsense, just the knowledge that there was something solid waiting for me, something nobody could mess with. So when I walked out of that airport, duffel slung across my shoulder, boots hitting Texas ground, I felt something like relief, like maybe I'd finally outrun the desert. I climbed to my old truck, windows down, let the dry wind slap me awake, and watched the landscape roll by. Fields of gold, cattle grazing in the distance, the occasional battered tractor or falling down gas station. Every landmark hit, like a friendly slap on the back, you made it, kid. But by the time I hit Weatherford, the sun was dipping low, sky painted every shade of orange and purple, and my hand was sweating on the wheel as I pulled onto that gravel drive. I slowed down, just soaking in, thinking this was the finish line. Except, you ever have a moment where your heart just stutters, and you know before you know? That was me. There was a minivan in my driveway. Kids' bikes up against the fence, one still spinning like the ghost of a memory. Curtains bright, flowery ones I'd never seen hanging in the window. Toys scattered on the living room floor. For a second, I figured I'd lost my damn mind. Maybe I'd taken a wrong turn. Maybe sleep deprivation finally fried my brain. But the fence, the barn roof, even the mailbox with the dent my dad hammered out, that was all ours. Except now, it was all someone else's. I killed the engine and just stood there, not moving, heart pounding like I just run up that oak tree again. Then the front door opened, and a woman stepped out, toddler on her hip, looking at me like I was a ghost. "Can I help you?" she asked, wary. I squared up, fell back on the tone the Army gives you, and said, "This is my house. Who are you?" She looked at me like I was crazy. "We bought this place 6 months ago from the HOA. That word hit me like a punch to the gut. "No," I said, and I could hear my voice rising. "No, my mortgage is paid, taxes are cleared. I set everything up before I deployed." She just shook her head, hugging her kid tighter, telling me to talk to the HOA. And then she shut the door. You know that feeling when something's been stolen from you, but you can't even shout about it? That's what burned in my throat as I walked back to my truck. 3 generations on that land me dad fought through recessions, hard winters, medical bills, but he kept it. And now, while I was fighting overseas, it got sold right out from under me. I ended up at a gas station on the edge of town, hands shaking on the steering wheel, neon buzzing overhead. And I knew exactly who to blame: Sylvia Breener, HOA president. If you've ever dealt with one of these people, you know, letters about your grass, threats about your truck being unsightly. She treated the whole subdivision like her own little fiefdom. My dad used to mutter about her all the time. So I called the only guy I could trust, Luis Navarro, deputy sheriff and my friend since we were kids. "Luis," I said, voice tight, "I'm back. And apparently, I don't have a house anymore." He told me to come by the station with every scrap of paperwork I had and not to do anything stupid. "Don't go confronting anybody. You hear me?" Yeah, that happened. But I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that woman at my door, her kid playing on my floor. Next morning, I rolled out of bed, splashed water on my face, looked in the mirror, and realized the man staring back at me was a whole lot older than the kid who left Weatherford. But he was still my father's son. I stuffed every bank slip and letter I had into an old leather folder, new ammunition. When I walked into the HOA office, the place looked about as threatening as a dentist's waiting room: cheap carpet, burnt coffee, a bored receptionist. But behind the scenes, it was Sylvia's kingdom. I demanded to see her. She came out, hair pulled back tight, every inch the queen. "Well," she said, arms folded, "I wondered when you'd be back." "You sold my ranch," I shot back. She smiled, thin as a razor. "Correction, the HOA sold it. After you abandoned it. I was deployed. Federal law protects service members. I paid everything before I left. I had the receipts." But she just kept smiling. "That's not what our records show. Maybe you should calm down, Sergeant. Talk to your lawyer." I left before I did something dumb, boots echoing down the hall. I wasn't going to win this with word alone. I met Luis at the sheriff's office, and he laid it out. The HOA filed for foreclosure claimed unpaid dues violations. But the amounts were jacked up, the records crooked. My payments? All there. "So they stole it," I muttered. Luis nodded. "And you're not the first." He told me to push through Army Legal Service Members Civil Relief Act. Make it official. "Don't just get your ranch back," he said. "Bring down the whole scheme." And I realized this wasn't just about me anymore. I drove out to see Emma, my sister. She opened the door and hugged me, so tight I thought my ribs might crack. "They sold Daddy's land," she said, fire in her eyes. "Over my dead body," I said. We spread out all the papers on our kitchen table, chili bubbling on the stove. She tapped a receipt. "Once this goes public, Sylvia's done." But Sylvia wasn't dumb. That night, at her fancy cul-de-sac home, she circled the wagon's board members, ledgers stacked high. "Staff Sergeant Ralston's back," she said. One guy looked ready to fold. "Can't we just give it back?" Sylvia cut him off cold. "If one domino falls, the rest do too." Next day, I walked into the judge advocate's office at Fort Cavazos. Captain Renee Whitfield took one look at my folder and said, "You kept good records. This is what we need." She explained. If their numbers didn't match mine, the HOA was in real trouble. "If there's a pattern, we'll find it." And there was a pattern. Within days, Louise called 3 more families had complaints. Same phantom fees, same bogus liens. Some folks were too scared to go public, but they were willing to talk. This thing was bigger than just one ranch. Meanwhile, Sylvia and her lawyer cooked up a smear campaign, started whispering that I was unstable, a hothead back from war. Anonymous blogs, rumors in town, even an old acquaintance asking if I was doing okay. Yeah, that happened too. Louise told me, "Don't take the bait." Whitfield called that night, "Stay focused. We're filing for discovery. Once we get their records, we went on proof, not gossip." And when that day came, Whitfield slid a folder across the table columns of late fees added after payments, phantom debts piled on people already paid up, manufactured debt, plain and simple. I took it to Luis at the diner, spread it all out. "They cooked the books," he said, "and now we can prove it." Sylvia's board started to crack. Curtis Doyle, her money guy, finally broke. Late one night, he called, Luis' voice trembling, saying he'd testify if we protect him. He had emails, memos, everything. They targeted people who couldn't fight back, deployed, elderly, folks just trying to hold on. News spread fast. At the next HOA meeting, Sylvia tried to slam her gavel, but the crowd just shouted back. "Where's our money? Where's the transparency?" For the first time, nobody listened to her. And then the feds rolled into Parker County. DOJ agents combed through years of records, bank accounts, property flips. Turns out, it wasn't just me. Dozens of families got chewed up by this scam. The courthouse was packed for the first hearing. Veterans waving flags, neighbors crowding the steps, reporters everywhere. Inside, Whitfield laid it all out. This is about abuse of power, not just one home. Sylvia's attorney tried to spin it community standards, unpaid dues, proper process. But witness after witness described fake fees, threats, confusion. When I took the stand, I told the truth. I was overseas defending this country when they stole my family's land. The judge listened. First, he handed down a temporary injunction froze all the HOA foreclosures. Not a win yet, but a shot across the bow. Then, weeks later, he ruled fraudulent, predatory, illegal. Titles restored. Sylvia and her board referred to federal prosecutors. Her little empire gone in a single gavel slam. I walked out into the Texas sun, Emma at my side, neighbors cheering, veterans saluting. My Lammy father's land was mine again. Folks stopped me in town, some just to shake my hand, some to ask for advice. I didn't have all the answers, but I listened. Sat on that old porch swing, field stretching out, and for the first time in a year, I breathed easy. You know, Emma said one night as the sun slipped away, "You're more than just a soldier now. You're a voice for folks who never had one." I never wanted to be a symbol. I just wanted to come home. But sometimes, coming home means fighting for everybody else, too. So here's my question: where do you draw the line? Is it when someone takes your land, your dignity, or is it when you realize you're not fighting for just yourself? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Ever fought the HOA, had to stand up for something that mattered? I want to hear your story, because this fight isn't over. Not by a long shot.